7 years after the runner collapsed, the data appeared. Not during an investigation. Not during a retrial. Not because someone was looking for it. It uploaded itself. A single data spike. Time-stamped. Verified. Synced to a fitness app account that had been inactive since the day 17-year-old Noah Parker disappeared. The spike lasted 8 seconds. And according to the data, Noah's heart rate didn't slow. It surged. Before we go any further, a quick like and subscribe is appreciated. It helps support long-form documentary storytelling like this. And while you're here, drop a comment telling us which country you're watching from. It helps more than you think. Now here's what happened. Because when analysts traced that spike back to its source, they realized something deeply unsettling. The spike didn't come from a hospital. It didn't come from a device reboot. And it didn't come from an error. It came from a location Noah Parker was never supposed to reach. Noah Parker was 17 years old and known for one thing above all else. He ran. Not casually. Not socially. Not for attention. Running was structure for him. It was routine. It was control. He ran every morning before school and every evening before dinner. Same route. Same pace. Same stretch of suburban roads looping around a public nature reserve just outside his neighborhood. He tracked everything. Distance. Heart rate. Elevation. Recovery time. His fitness app logs were meticulous. Coaches described him as disciplined, almost obsessive in the way serious young athletes sometimes are. But Noah wasn't reckless. He didn't sprint blindly. He didn't push through injury. And he never ran alone at night. On the morning of September 14th, 2017, Noah went out for what should have been a routine training run. 6 miles. Moderate pace. Flat terrain. He texted his mother before leaving. Back in 45. He never came back. At 6:38 a.m., a jogger spotted Noah near the Eastern Trail entrance of the reserve. He appeared unsteady. At 6:41 a.m., another runner saw him slow to a walk, hands on his knees. At 6:42 a.m., Noah collapsed. Emergency services were called within minutes. But when responders arrived, Noah Parker was gone. Not unconscious. Not injured nearby. Gone. His shoes were found on the trail. His phone lay face down in the dirt. His smartwatch was missing. There were no signs of a struggle. No blood. No drag marks. Search teams combed the reserve for weeks. Drones. Dogs. Thermal imaging. Nothing. Noah Parker vanished from a public trail during daylight, surrounded by people, with emergency responders already en route. Investigators focused on one question. How does a teenager collapse and then disappear? Theories ranged from abduction to medical confusion. Some suggested Noah regained consciousness and wandered off. Others believed someone intervened. But no witnesses saw him leave. And no cameras captured him. His fitness data told a simple story. Until the moment it stopped. At 6:42 a.m., Noah's heart rate spiked sharply. Then the data ended. No cool down. No gradual decline. Just silence. For 7 years, that silence remained untouched. Until the app updated itself. In 2024, during a back-end system migration, dormant accounts were re-indexed. Noah's account reconnected. And at 3:16 a.m., a new activity uploaded automatically. 8 seconds long. Heart rate, 196 BPM. Cadence, erratic. Elevation, negative. The GPS coordinate didn't match the trail. It matched somewhere else entirely. A location underground. And that's where the investigation began again. At first, investigators assumed the spike was a mistake. Fitness apps glitch. Servers misread timestamps. GPS drifts. Those explanations usually solve cases like this. But not this one. Because when analysts examined Noah Parker's account history, the data didn't behave like a corruption error. It behaved like a recording. The spike had a clean start and a clean end. No jitter. No overlap. No fragmentation. 8 seconds. Exactly. The heart rate curve followed a natural biological pattern. Sharp acceleration, brief plateau, then an abrupt cutoff. That pattern only occurs during extreme physical stress. Fear, pain, or exertion beyond capacity. And yet, according to the app, Noah wasn't running. His cadence was irregular, almost staggered. His stride length collapsed. And the elevation dropped by nearly 6 meters in under 10 seconds. That wasn't a hill. It was a descent. The GPS coordinate pointed to a place investigators had never searched. because it wasn't visible on any map. The location sat directly beneath the reserve, an area once used decades earlier for stormwater infrastructure during a failed expansion project. Old blueprints showed a network of service tunnels sealed in the late 1990s. No public access. No entrances marked. No reason to believe anyone could reach them. But the GPS signal didn't place Noah near the tunnels. It placed him inside. That realization changed the direction of the case overnight. Search teams returned to the reserve with new purpose. Ground-penetrating radar confirmed voids beneath the soil. Collapsed concrete chambers. Blocked passageways. One section, directly beneath the trail where Noah collapsed, showed signs of a partial sink. Small, unnoticeable from above, but enough to swallow a person if the ground gave way. The theory formed quietly. What if Noah didn't disappear? What if he fell? But that explanation raised more questions than it answered. Because if Noah fell underground, how did no one hear it? Why were there no cracks on the surface? No disturbed soil? No injuries found nearby? And most troubling of all, why did the spike upload 7 years later? Fitness devices don't store data indefinitely without power. Noah's smartwatch was never recovered. Its battery should have died within days. Yet the app showed a fresh upload. Timestamped. Authenticated. Accepted by the server as real. That meant one thing. At some point, Noah's device reconnected. Someone or something brought it back online. Investigators requested the raw telemetry logs from the app company. What they found made the situation worse. The upload didn't come from a phone. It didn't come from Wi-Fi. It came through a brief satellite handshake, a signal type typically used in remote areas when no other connection is available. The data was sent once, never repeated, and it originated from below ground level, which should have been impossible. No satellite signal can penetrate that depth. Unless the device wasn't underground anymore. Unless, for 8 seconds, it wasn't where everyone assumed Noah had gone. And that raised a chilling new question. Where was Noah Parker when the spike occurred? Because wherever it wasn't a place anyone had ever searched. And the trail wasn't the last place he'd been alive. Once the tunnel theory surfaced, investigators reopened every statement that had been dismissed years earlier, including one that had never sat right. A boy named Ethan Morales. He was 13 at the time Noah disappeared. A quiet kid who lived 2 streets from the reserve. He came forward the second day of the search. Ethan said he'd been riding his bike near the trailhead that evening. He said he saw Noah. Not running. Standing still. Bent forward, hands on his knees, breathing hard. That part matched the collapse. But then Ethan said something else. He said Noah wasn't alone. According to Ethan, a figure stood several feet behind Noah, just off the trail, partially hidden by trees. Not close enough to touch him. Not far enough to be accidental. Just waiting. Ethan said the figure didn't move. Didn't wave. Didn't speak. Just stood there. Watching. Investigators dismissed the statement within minutes. No adult witnesses corroborated it. No cameras picked it up. And Ethan admitted he'd been scared and rode away. Stress. Imagination. A kid filling in gaps. That's what they wrote. But 7 years later, with the fitness data pointing to something unnatural, Ethan's statement was pulled back into the light. Now 18, Ethan was re-interviewed. His story hadn't changed. Same distance. Same posture. Same silence. But this time, he added something he hadn't said before. He said the figure didn't walk away. He said it moved backward. Not turning around. Not stepping aside. Just retreating into the trees, face still forward. That detail made the room uncomfortable. People don't move like that. Investigators asked Ethan why he hadn't mentioned that part earlier. Ethan's answer was simple. No one asked. The trail area was revisited again, this time with thermal imaging and motion-triggered cameras. Nothing unusual appeared. But when old satellite images were reviewed, taken within hours of Noah's disappearance, analysts noticed a faint heat signature near the trail's edge. Not human-sized. Larger. Stationary. It disappeared in the next frame. Satellite resolution wasn't good enough to identify it. But it was there, and it aligned with Ethan's position. Then came the detail no one could explain. When investigators overlaid Noah's heart rate spike with environmental data, they noticed the spike didn't begin at the collapse. It began after. For several seconds following his fall, Noah's heart rate actually dropped. Then suddenly it exploded upward, as if something had startled him after he was already on the ground. As if he had seen something. The spike didn't reflect panic from falling. It reflected panic from realization. And that realization lasted exactly 8 seconds. Whatever Noah saw, whatever was near him, it happened fast. And then the data stopped. Not gradually, instantly, as if the device had been removed, or taken somewhere signal couldn't reach. The reserve was officially reclassified. Search teams expanded beyond the tunnels, beyond the trail, into areas no one had considered relevant. Because the evidence was no longer pointing to an accident. It was pointing to an interaction. And the hardest question of all was now unavoidable. If Noah wasn't alone when he collapsed, then who or what was close enough to make his heart react like that? And why did only a 13-year-old boy notice it? When investigators requested the raw export from Noah's fitness app, they expected one thing. Corruption. A sudden spike, then silence, usually meant a sensor failure. Sweat interference. Impact damage. A battery disconnection. But what they found didn't match any known malfunction. Because 2 minutes after Noah's data stopped, it started again. Just once. A single data point. No distance logged. No pace recorded. No GPS trail. Only heart rate. 112 beats per minute. That number shouldn't have existed. At that time, Noah's phone had already been marked offline. No cellular signal. No Wi-Fi. No Bluetooth pairing. The watch should have been inert. Instead, it transmitted one clean, perfectly formed data packet to the cloud. Timestamped. Verified. Undeniable. Engineers from the app's development team were consulted. They confirmed something disturbing. That packet could not have been generated accidentally. It required the watch to be powered on, worn correctly, and making direct skin contact. Which meant one thing. Someone was wearing it. But whoever it was wasn't moving. Heart rate at 112 suggested awareness. Calm alertness. Not exertion. Not fear. Standing still. Listening. The upload occurred at 7:19 p.m. Exactly 6 minutes after Ethan reported seeing the figure retreat into the trees. Investigators returned to the site with this new timeline. They focused on a narrow ravine just east of the trail, an area previously ignored because it was too steep for a runner to access easily. There, beneath layers of moss and loose soil, they found something small. Plastic. Cracked. A wristband clasp. Not Noah's watch. But the same model. Same year. Same color. Meaning Noah wasn't the first. The app company confirmed it had logged unexplained orphan spikes in that area before. 3 times. Over 5 years. Different users. Different days. Same elevation. All marked as anomalies. All ignored. No bodies were ever recovered. No missing persons were officially connected. But the data remained. Short. Clean. Intentional. Investigators quietly shut down public access to the trail for environmental restoration. No signs mentioned danger. No press conferences were held. But internally, the case file was reclassified. Not as a disappearance. As an unknown contact event. The final note in the file was written by a senior analyst. It read, "The device did not fail. The data did not glitch. The signal was sent. The question is by whom?" And beneath that, one final line. If the watch was worn, then Noah was not the last one there. 7 years passed. Noah Parker's disappearance became another cold case. News articles faded. Neighbors stopped asking questions. Coaches and friends moved on. But the fitness app didn't forget. On a crisp morning in early 2024, during a routine server audit, the dormant account for Noah Parker suddenly synced. No one had logged in. No one had touched the device. Yet the system recorded a fresh upload, the infamous 8-second spike. Analysts were stunned. The timestamp matched no known human activity in the area. The GPS coordinates corresponded to the exact location beneath the trail where the ravine and hidden clasp had been found. And the data wasn't just heart rate. It included tiny accelerometer shifts, subtle enough to suggest someone, or something, was moving, but moving carefully. Slow. Precise. Deliberate. The implications were terrifying. It meant Noah Parker's device had been worn or moved intentionally after the disappearance. But by whom? Investigators theorized several possibilities. Accidental discovery. Someone had found Noah, or his device, years later and unknowingly activated it. Purposeful intervention. Someone, or something, had returned to the site specifically to trigger the device. An unknown presence. Something remained at the location all these years, waiting for the moment to communicate through the device. All possibilities were unsettling. The spike lasted exactly 8 seconds, mirroring the original collapse. It was almost as if the event from 2017 had been replayed, not by NOAA, but by the data itself. Engineers tried to replicate the anomaly in controlled environments. Impossible. No app, no watch, no satellite signal could produce the same precise readings without a human wearer. Yet here it was. And one final, chilling detail emerged. Alongside the GPS coordinates, the system logged environmental conditions. Wind speed, temperature, humidity, all matching the day of Noah's disappearance 7 years earlier. As if the spike had been captured from a time-stamped echo, not the present. Investigators faced a terrifying reality. This was no ordinary disappearance. Noah Parker had interacted with the world, or the app, years after he vanished. And whoever, or whatever, had caused the upload left no other trace. No footprints. No human DNA. No evidence of an external tampering. The case file concluded with a single haunting note from the lead investigator. We are not searching for Noah Parker. We are searching for what followed him. The final piece of the puzzle came unexpectedly. An independent data analyst, reviewing old satellite imagery for a separate environmental study, noticed something unusual above the trail where Noah had collapsed. A faint object hovering at dawn. Small, shimmering, almost transparent. They compared the timestamp to Noah's original GPS spike. Exact match. The spike had not been caused by him, or by any ordinary person. It had been triggered from above. Not the ravine. Not the trail. From the sky. Investigators revisited the weather data from the day of the disappearance. Clear skies. No drones recorded in the area. No known aircraft reported. Yet the object in the image had a shadow, matching the length and angle of the sun at 6:32 a.m. It was hovering deliberately over the spot where Noah's heart rate had spiked. Forensic engineers tested the watch against remote magnetic fields, RF signals, and even environmental vibrations. Nothing in human technology could remotely generate a GPS-verified heartbeat spike from a device underground, without power, 7 years after it stopped. This left only one conclusion. Noah Parker's disappearance wasn't accidental. It wasn't a simple fall. It wasn't even a human perpetrator. Something, or someone observed him, then interacted with his wearable technology, years later, in ways our science cannot explain. Ethan Morales' childhood sighting suddenly made sense. The silent figure he saw wasn't hiding in the woods. It wasn't fleeing. It was waiting. Waiting to ensure that the moment, Noah's collapse, was captured perfectly digitally, as if replayed across time. And the 8-second spike wasn't a glitch. It wasn't even a signal. It was a message. A message no one alive fully understands. Some argue it's a natural phenomenon, an unexplained electromagnetic effect that can manipulate technology in ways we don't yet comprehend. Others suggest something more intentional, a consciousness beyond our own, capable of interacting with matter and data simultaneously. Noah Parker's fate remains unknown. His body was never found. His smartwatch never fully explained. His account forever marks the moment when technology and the unknown converged. And for those who visit the trail today, hikers report an eerie feeling just before sunrise. A subtle pause in the air. A whisper of wind that seems too intentional. A faint heartbeat echoing across the ridges of the reserve. The last message of a teen runner who vanished, but whose story refuses to end.